Hello again. Here we are again ranking 215 albums from the year 1992. We are up to number 139. So we're getting there slowly but surely. Before you know it, we'll be in the 100 teens, and then we'll be in the top 100. We'll be in the top 50 before you even know it. A few more videos and we'll be there, and this countdown will seem like the type of countdown that a normal person would do instead of a complete maniac. So yeah, but we got all kinds of albums to get to before we're there though. And like I said, currently at number 139. Okay, so we're up to the next band, and they are from Australia. They are called These Immortal Souls. The album is I'm Never Gonna Die Again. And right from the beginning, the first track, The King of California, sets this really nice musical portrait. You've got this, the instruments are mixed together in this sort of dream pop way, but it has this sort of sandpapery, grainy distortion over all of it, but at the same time, it's got this sheen, so it's like a misty kind of feel to the music, and a great use of piano involved in that, which you don't hear a lot of, so it really is a nice kind of change of pace from a lot of the stuff I've been listening to from 1992. And like I said, the first song, King of California, just really sets that up. And then the rest of the album just delivers it all the way through. It gets a little more melodic in certain places, especially on tracks like Black Milk. And then gets a little more kind of aggressive on other tracks. And even some of the songs, it does both. It kind of goes back and forth and really keeps things interesting. And I keep talking about the music on this album as being interesting and really well done, because it's the vocals that ruin it. The band is, like I said, from Australia. It's led by two brothers, Rowland S. Howard and Harry Howard. Rowland S. Howard is the vocalist, Harry is the bassist. I think Rowland is no longer with us, but for me, the vocals are not great. It's a very narrow vocal range. It's sort of this snotty punk kind of thing. It's that type of thing. And usually, sometimes the vocals, when they contrast with the music, it makes it interesting. It broadens the landscape a little bit. Here, though, with this, I don't think it works at all. Not a fan of the vocals. So yeah, it really knocked it down quite a bit in the rankings. I mean, my favorite track on here is an instrumental called Insomnicide. And so that's an instrumental, and that's where you don't hear the vocals. So that's my favorite track on here. And it's immediately followed by my least favorite track, which is a ballad, which the vocals are right out, and it's this round, put right up front. It's called All the Money's Gone. So yeah, that's it for me. I mean, great music, great use of the different instruments, complementing each other, and a great mix that makes it really sort of unique with that, like I said, kind of that misty sort of distortion going through everything. But it's the vocals that kill it for me on this album. It's These Immortal Souls. I think they only had a couple of albums out. They were only around for a little while. I don't know a lot about them. I don't hear a lot about them. This was sort of I'm sure they were probably bigger in Australia. They apparently actually formed in London, so maybe they're bigger in the UK as well. I can imagine they are. But in the US, this is kind of an under-the-radar thing, but I had to check it out, see what it was all about. Glad I did. Really liked the music. Not keen on the vocals. Okay, here's an album that I was actually surprised by. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and that is The Lizard from Saigon Kick. I didn't know that much about Saigon Kick. I think one of the only songs I ever heard from them is Love Is On The Way. Not a great song. I just assumed they were one of those, glam rock bands, and this was their power ballad. And it's more of like a poppy kind of ballad than a power ballad, but I never really went further into the Saigon Kick arena. But yeah, now that I've heard the whole album, they're really not glam metal or anything like that at all. They're more of like a 90s style power pop type band. A little more rock in some places. They get a little tougher sounding with some of the vocals. I think when they do that, they don't sound like, there's a song called Body Bags. There's another one called All Right, where the vocalist tries to toughen up a little bit and gets a little pukey with his vocals. I don't think, when they start getting like that, it gets annoying. But most of this is just, you know, like a Cheap Trick type thing. Everybody wants to be Cheap Trick. Have you noticed that? Or at least a lot of these bands. But yeah, you know, the I, freedom! Very catchy song called Freedom. There's another catchy one that comes on before that called God of 42nd Street. Just poppy and hooky. Some of it even sounds like more of like an English band from the 60s, like part of the British invasion or something like that. So, yeah, it's actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. There's the other single off of this that is very similar to Love Is On The Way called All I Want, but I actually think it's better than Love Is On The Way. I think Love Is On The Way did, you know, a lot better. That's their big hit, basically. But the rest of this isn't too bad. There's some, you know, clunkers on here. I mean, it's a long hour. It's like 53 minutes long. So there is some stuff where if this came out, you know, in the you know, original vinyl record era, then it would be more like 44 minutes, or they would probably have gotten rid of a couple of songs, and I could definitely tell which ones those would have probably been. But definitely probably. I gotta stop saying that. But yeah, there is a really bad one on here called My Dog. It's less than a minute long, and it's just this screaming thing about my dog got hit by a car, and I loved my dog, but now he's in the road twitching and whining, and there's blood coming from his mouth, and he's dying. Oh no, now he's dead. I don't know if that's supposed to be funny, but it's not. I know there was an era where dead animals, like dead dogs, your pet dog, dead in the road, that's supposed to be humorous. I was born without whatever that is in your brain that turns that kind of stuff into comedy. I never thought shit like that was funny. I'm not like a Seth MacFarlane, like the same joke over and over again where something is precious or cute and so you make it violent and bloody and that makes it funny. I was born without that endorphin or whatever that is. So I don't know if it's supposed to be a joke or what, or if the guy's like sincerely outraged that his dog's been killed. But if he's sincerely outraged, you'd think they'd make a full song out of it and not some under-minute long thing in the middle of the album which just sounds really stupid. So, I mean, that's definitely the lowest point on the album. But other than that, yeah, it's better than, I mean, it's not awesome. It's not, you know, incredible, and I'm going to run right out and find a CD of this and buy it. But it is better than I suspected it was based on hearing Love Is On The Way, you know, 30 years ago. So, yeah, you know, Saigon Kick belongs here in the rankings, but, you know, if somebody would have asked me before I listened to it, I would have thought, oh, yeah, that's going to be on part 1, you know, or part 2. Nice green lizardy kind of cover on this, too. Before they blew up big, the Offspring released this album called Ignition back in 1992. And yeah, it's Dexter Holland and company just bashing it out for 12 songs or so in the 90s punk rock style. I've always liked his vocals, though. As soon as you hear his vocals, you pretty much know it's the Offspring. And this is pretty, you know, energetic all the way through. Like I said, just kind of bashing it out. Not a lot of variety, not a lot of melody going on here. A little bit of guitar riffing every once in a great while, but mostly it's just, like I said, just bashed out with Dexter Holland and his particular sort of soaring vocal. Yeah, Kick Him When It's Down was the song that we played on the radio on here, but we didn't play that until 1995. Smash, the album, had already come out with, of course, Come Out and Play and Gotta Get Away and Self-Esteem, and all those, and the Offspring were huge. Very first concert I was ever backstage at. I told that story in a different video, so you can check that out. And I didn't mention what the band was, though. But it's the one with the chicken heart. Let's just put it that way. Again, it was in a different video. But yeah, Kick Him When He's Down was 1995 when we were playing that. So they kind of went back and snatched a song off of an older CD, this one, and then people started buying this, and it ended up going gold. So yeah, the record companies do that every once in a great while. If a band blows up huge and they've pretty much milked the entire album for all the singles, they'll go back and grab a single from an earlier album. That's what they did here. So yeah, the LAPD song is on here. That is quite scathing against the Los Angeles Police Department. That's definitely a windows up song if you're driving around with that one on. Just beware of that. But overall, an energetic Offspring CD, exactly what you can expect. Later on, they would kind of mellow out, put more emphasis in the, the actual forming an actual song with a memorable like guitar riff or, you know, a nice chorus that you can kind of sink your teeth into, a kind of more mature songwriting. They'll put more into it once they move to Columbia. I still like a lot of their Columbia stuff. Then they would get just silly. Pretty fly for a white guy and get a job or whatever that one song was. Hey, 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 hey. You know, they really got sing-songish and chorusy and, you know, going for the top 40 at that point. But this is their punk roots. But this is total punk rock. You can tell it's punk rock because the whole album starts off with somebody yelling fuck like 3 times and then the song starts. So punk rock. And it even comes with an Epitaph Records mail order thing here. SST used to do this too. Buy or die, it says. And you can get records from Bad Religion. You can get L7 on here. You get Dag Nasty. Remember them? Clawhammer. Rich Kids on LSD. NoFX. You know, they're on here as well. Pennywise. Albums are $10. Try getting an original 1992-91 album from any of those bands now on a record and paying $10 for that. Good luck with that little scheme. Yeah, Offspring and Ignition. So you might know that I'm not the most huge fan of what's called pop punk or punk pop. I'm definitely not into it. Groups like Blink-182 and Good Charlotte and Green Day, the list goes on and on and on. Huge more in the late 90s, just not a fan, not a fan. You do have the band Face to Face though. Their 1992 album is called Don't Turn Away. Played some of this on college radio. And I do like this more than a lot of the other bands that I just mentioned, just because this seems more of a natural, just kind of guys playing, you know, doing their thing, not trying to have fake accents or sing-songy vocals or really overdoing it. These guys just sound like, you know, just a fun band. They got the chops. They got decent vocals. They're writing about, you know, quality lyrics, nothing over the top. So they're not annoying like a lot of the pop punk stuff is. So yeah, Face to Face, give them a listen if you like that kind of thing. It might be too raw for you, might be too, like, you know, not polished enough, not loud enough, not whatever enough, not we're pretending it's 1977 enough. I don't know, but I thought they were pretty good. So they definitely rise above, for me anyway, kind of the crop of all that stuff that came later on. Face to Face, Don't Turn Away. It's a fun album. It's an upbeat album. Lyrically solid, you know, decent lead vocals. I don't really know what more to say about it. I'm not even sure what happened to these guys. I know they put out a few more albums. I don't know if they're still around or not, but I turned this on for the first time probably since the early 90s, and got some good memories coming back from tracks like Disconnected and the first track on the album, and you know, just hearing the 3 or 4 that we played on the college radio. So some good memories coming back, a decent pop punk type of thing, and yeah, they were kind of before a lot of those other bands, so they kind of led the path that would go astray eventually, unfortunately. But yeah, you like that kind of thing, give Face to Face a listen. Dan Baird was the lead singer and main songwriter for the band Georgia Satellites, and in 1992 he had a solo album called Love Songs for the Hearing Impaired. And I was sort of familiar with the song I Love You, Period. That was the single. It got played on rock radio for a little while and then just kind of went away. And I think there might even have been a video that was on MTV for just about a half a minute. But this album starts off kind of, you know, not on the right foot as far as my ears were concerned. It sounds like he's singing in the wrong key. The very first track called, you know, That's What I Am, is just not cutting it. You know, I'm thinking, this isn't going to be too good, man, because I really, really loved Georgia Satellites' debut album, especially. The other ones were good, the solid, you know, just basic barroom rock and roll, crank it up. But that first album, man, there's so many just killer tunes on there. I was really wanting to hear this Dan Baird solo, because I don't think I'd ever heard this all the way through before. I mean, like I said, I was familiar with a couple of the singles, but that was about it. So first track, kind of a letdown. Second one, Julie and Lucky. Not great either, just this typical kind of song about lovers out on the run. You know, they're breaking the law or whatever, and now they're end up living on peanut butter sandwiches, and you know, it's kind of like, yeah, we've heard this kind of thing so many times before, and this isn't done very well. And then you get the single, "I Love You, Period." It's got a rockin' sound to it. It's great when you're in a bar and it's blasting out of the jukebox or whatever, or you're flying down the road. Lyrics are very hokey. I think they're going for the hokey kind of thing to kind of bring back the magic of, you know, no huggy, no kissy, and things like that. Keep your hands to yourself. They had huge, obviously, success with that with Georgia Satellites. So maybe trying to recapture that. It doesn't really do that, but it's a cutesy enough kind of song. And then the barn burner comes on, the one that you do crank up, called "Look at What You Started." Now this is what I more expected from somebody that used to front the Georgia Satellites. This is just a absolute rock and roller, basic rock and roll, you know, nothing flashy, but done really, really well. I mean, maybe this was a single. If not, it definitely should have been. This is the highlight of the album as far as I'm concerned. "Seriously Gone" is the next one, and that kind of complements that same kind of thing. You get the 1-2 punch of those two songs back to back, and then you get kind of a letdown again with this song called "Pick Up the Knife," which is all about, you know, pick up the knife and carve your name in my heart or something like that. It's kind of awkward. It's weird. And then speaking of awkward, then the album takes a real turn with this song called "Knocked Up." He's locked up, too. So you can imagine knocking someone up, which means getting them pregnant, if you're not familiar with that phrase. You can imagine why that would make someone now incarcerated. Right. He says it's because the girl's uncle is the sheriff, so maybe he planted evidence of something and he got busted for something else. But the lyrics seem to go more in the direction of this is an underage girl, and that's why he's locked up. And now that she is knocked up, she's going to miss a lot of school. And it's this fun, upbeat kind of sound, and it's like, yeah, that's not that fun when you're a teenage girl and you're pregnant in high school. That's not... I went to school. Everybody's gone to school with a couple of girls like that. I'm sure that's not fun. That's not upbeat. But, you know... I mean, I thought we left the whole statutory kind of thing back in the 70s with songs like Christine 16 and Chevy Van and whatever that Jim Croce thing was, where, yeah, whatever that song is, troublesome. Yeah, don't do songs like that in the 90s, Mr. Baird. I had so much high hopes for you. You seem like a really cool guy. I've never met you, but come on, man. We don't need "I'm locked up" because you're knocked up. Anyway, he's forced to marry her in a shotgun wedding. Similar to the video, again, for "Keep Your Hands to Yourself." Or keep revisiting that. The next track probably wouldn't be as creepy as if it didn't follow the Knocked Up track. It's called "Baby Talk." And of course, baby, I love it when you're talking dirty and that baby talk. And it's like, oh my God, dude, just stop. So that's why the album started off here. I'm like, oh man, this is really cool. Crank this one song up, and the song after it, man, in the middle of the, and then as we're getting teenagers, high school girls pregnant. So here we are now in the rankings. But yeah, you got Miss Beaudurant to wrap it up about this girl that runs off and, I don't know, she's in a wet t-shirt contest and dances to Leonard Skinner, so she wins. I don't know. Anyway, so fun album, mostly. Kind of troublesome there about 2/3 of the way through, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say maybe he's locked up because the uncle sheriff planted evidence or something. Anyway. Why? But yeah, it's Dan Baird. I love Georgia Satellite's first album. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but I can't rank it any higher than this. Okay, so now in the rankings, we are up to Roger Waters and "Amused to Death." Now, big Pink Floyd fan, love the Pink Floyd of the 60s, love the Pink Floyd of the 70s, not so keen on some of the 80s stuff. I think a lot of the 80s Pink Floyd sounds bloated and boring, and 90s as well, and just they're relying at that point more on light shows and sound quality, and this is the album that you test out your new stereo on type of thing. Roger Waters going solo. The issue I always have with his solo albums is, I won't say he can't sing, he won't sing. He has that kind of talk singing thing that he does. I don't think he's very sure of himself in a vocal, a singing sort of thing. And it worked with Pink Floyd because you had all of these different, you had the four guys, and whichever four guys it was at the time. And, they would all put in their input. Obviously, in the 70s, Roger Waters and David Gilmour were at the forefront. But yet Nick Mason and Richard Wright also contributing as well. But you had, mostly it was the two guys up front. And singing vocally, you would have Comfortably Numb, a perfect example. I can take Roger Waters every once in a while doing a little, hello, is there anybody in there? As long as you then have the David Gilmour coming and singing the rest of the song, with a very nice voice, and it becomes a song. The thing with the Roger Waters solo stuff is you don't have a vocalist come in and do that. So it's, and this is a very long album. This is like a 72-minute album. So it would have been a double album. It would have been a short double album, but it would have been a double album in the LP days. And it just goes on and on with him. It's too much. My little humble opinion here, coming from the St. Louis area, just a everyday guy, talking about music. My little opinion, that means nothing to Roger Waters, is I think after 1983, he should have formed another band and got a nice lead singer and been the primary, songwriter, guitarist, whatever, producer, and left the vocals to somebody else. I think that would have been a lot more interesting. A lot of these things on here don't even seem like songs. And at this point, it's 1992. We've had the Pink Floyd, for 15 years now, with the flipping channel sound effects and the, dialogue bits here and there. And that's what this is. You're changing channels. You've got Marv Albert on here doing a warcast, I guess, commentating on war like it's a sports game or something. And so you got that. This is right before the Marv Albert controversy, obviously. And and you've got little sound bites here and there. You got sound effects going on. It's the usual later Pink Floyd stuff. And we've just heard it all before. War commentary, social commentary. Great, that's wonderful that you want to sing out about the evils of war and how that takes its toll on people and the gruesomeness of death in battle and things like that. Great, sing about that, get that message out. But let's do it in a more musical, listening experience. There is a song on here called Watching TV where he actually helps, Don Henley helps him out with it. That's probably the highlight on this whole album. And you don't get to that until track 11, which this is a 72-minute album. So by the time you get to track 11, you've already been listening for about an hour. But yeah, just a couple of little nice spots here and there. You got Jeff Beck playing guitar. I think he probably was given instruction to try to sound more like David Gilmour. It's not working that great, but, missed opportunities on this. Great ideas, great songwriting, great, some nice lyrical ideas, but there's just no songs here. There's no anything that's going to jump out and be like a Pink Floyd album where it's like, yeah, it's got the commentary, yeah, it's got the gut-wrenching realities of war and insanity and the usual topics. There's songs, though. There's songs that you can actually remember and get into, and great guitar solos and great melodies and great vocal performances. That is not on Amused to Death. Okay, so what am I listening to here? Oh my God. Okay, this is Dream Theater. Images and Words is the album. I'm very, very familiar with Pull Me Under. We used to play that on the radio all the time. Yes, the full 8.5-minute version or whatever it is. Yes, the whole thing. So played that a lot. Very, very familiar with that song. Not a very radio-friendly ending to that. It just abruptly ends. Like, doesn't even like... I'm not talking about a note just cuts off. I mean, the entire song sounds like somebody just got tired of hearing it and just turned it off. So you had to be very careful how you segued out of Pull Me Under. But yeah, I remember that. Very lively, very, seas increase and then fall again. That was always one of my favorite lines. But, so it's got this kind of chugging beat. It works well on rock radio. It comes on, it sounds different. A little variety, so you're not just playing the same kind of sounds over and over again. So I appreciated that. And that's about as kind of you know, hard rock, straight ahead for the radio that they're going to get on here is the very first track. I'm not the biggest fan of prog rock anyway. I mean, if you've seen a lot of my videos, you probably have figured that out. I like German progressive rock, but a lot of that I don't consider, I mean, it's called that, but I consider it more psychedelic, the stuff from the early 70s. I'm definitely not big into 90s American progressive rock at all, and that's exactly what this is. And it's the type of thing where I can completely appreciate the talent involved in this, and the musicianship and the technical ability that you have to be able to play this very unconventional stuff. I mean, this has got to be, you got to be a top-notch musician to be able to pull this off, especially doing it in concert, you know, on tour every night. Very, very complex arrangements, not just standing, you know, sitting behind the drums, doing the 4/4 thing and doing a little squealy guitar thing and playing the same guitar riffs. Yeah, these were hard to learn, but now we got them down. It's muscle, you know, memory at this point. This is extremely technical, extremely unorthodox rhythms and time signatures and everything. So I can completely appreciate the work that goes into this and the talent involved. For my ears, though, it's just not for me. You know, you got especially it's more about the instruments, I think, a lot of it that they choose to use. And you got very, very new age kind of synths that pop up on certain songs. I'm thinking, you know, is Chip Davis in this band? Not a fan of those. You got a full-on sax solo in the song Another Day. Not into that. The 9.5-minute Metropolis has great sections in it that I like. I really like the music in the middle of Under a Glass Moon. That's when they're just like full-on rock with, you know, a different time signature going on, a total different feel, but it's still got the rock feel to it, you know, the rock elements. It's not the synths that sound like Mannheim Steamroller, and it's not the saxophone, and it's not the, you know, stuff that doesn't even sound like rock music to me, or any kind of music that I enjoy, whether it's pop or disco or funk or anything like that. So, you know, I totally understand why somebody would like this. I get it. It's not for me. So I kind of put it here in the ranking because this is my ranking of stuff that I respond to and enjoy. I can guarantee you many of the people watching this video right now would be like, I would rank this absolutely much, much higher. It's one of my favorite albums from 1992. But it's my ranking, so that's why it's here. But again, I just want to reiterate, I totally get these guys are pros, these guys are talented, this music is very difficult to play and pull off night after night, but it's just not for me. It's 90s punk rock, not my favorite thing, but the band is No Use for a Name, and the CD is Don't Miss the Train. That almost rhymes. These guys do a half-hour album in 12 songs, or I should say 12 songs in a half hour. So very fast, very quick, to the point, and these songs all have points. That's what makes it interesting. All 12 kind of tackle a different subject, and the way the songs are written, you don't have to have a degree, or you don't have to have a lot of poetic imagination to figure out what they're talking about. They're all very, very straightforward. Very well recorded as well. A nice, crisp, clean punk sound from the early 90s. Some of it doesn't really resonate like I'm sure it did in 1992. You've got songs about toll bridges. You've got songs about cigarette addiction and what it can do to the unborn child that you're having. You've got songs about spray tan. They're pretty much singing against everything they're singing about here. So some of it doesn't really relate to today, but others still pretty much timeless subjects. You've got, war and nationalism. You've got songs about fascism and watch out for that. And you've got songs like the title track about, don't miss the train, go for your dreams, don't let your life pass you by type of thing. So, and then there's songs about, the guy that's lazy on the couch with the remote control. So, some of it is kind of dated, some of it is not. But it's all, like I said, really well recorded. I really love the way the drums sound in this. The lead vocalist is okay. He doesn't have that whiny sound that sometimes pops up in the sing-songish kind of pop punk kind of stuff. That is not here, so thumbs up to that. But he doesn't have a very big range. It's not very melodic. It's, very fast and very, very punkish. Very, they're not embellishing a lot on different musical landscapes and things like that. But love the way it's recorded. Like I said, love the drum sound as well. And it is interesting to hear, the very straightforward topics, and that you don't have to really look deep into the lyrics to figure out. And it kind of just breezes by. Half hour long, 12 songs. They're all about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes long. Not a lot of, big, long intros or things like that, or the song is building. It just punks out, rocks out, and shuts off. So that's no use for a name. Biohazard had their second album called Urban Discipline out in 1992 from Brooklyn. And these guys really were one of the first ones to try to mix up the metal, hard-hitting sounds with rap style vocals. So they did a pretty good job of it, I think. I think they did better than most. They basically took the best elements of both and put them together. Sometimes when you try to mix the rap and the metal, it wouldn't work out. They'd try to do the funky rap type of thing, and some of the other bands would do that, and it just wasn't. These guys took the anger, took the street, kind of word from the street of rap, the political side of things, the social commentary of rap, mixed that with the heavy music, and it worked out pretty well for them for a while. Urban Discipline, of course, contains the track Urban Discipline, which contains the lyrics, "I've learned you only live once, so I'm going to take life by the balls and squeeze until they crunch." Ow. So it's got that on there. It's got the track Punishment, which we used to play in college, which starts off with a scene from the Punisher movie from '89. So you got a little bit of dialogue from that going on. The Punisher, who was in that? Dolph Lundgren, I think, was the Punisher at that point. Anyway, so you got that. You got tracks like Loss, about the death of a friend. You got Black and White and Red All Over, tackling racism. So they got all kinds of social issues going on in this album. And this album also features a track, a cover of Bad Religion's "We're Only Gonna Die From Our Own Arrogance," which is the first track on their debut album. This is an original copy of this. It's just any excuse to show this that I have this album. But anyway, yeah. So that is on there. They got that kind of tough New York kind of thing going on, and then the backup guys, kind of doing that kind of chanting, like fist pumping thing. So yeah, in 1992 it was kind of a primitive type of sound, but I think it worked out well for these guys, and they kept that up throughout the 90s. I think they still are, together. I'm not sure if they're still together, but I know they were putting out stuff up until at least the late 2000s. So yeah, check out some Biohazard. They got the song Business, which is all about the the music industry and whatever. I know a lot of that keeps coming up in hip-hop music, where they tackle the label they're working for. They got no fear about going after it. Talking about music is for you and me, not this fucking industry. And of course the industry's like, yeah, put that lyric in there. We'll just keep counting the money as the CDs keep selling. But yeah, Biohazard, they do it right. I mean, it's not my favorite album ever. I wouldn't even call this like a 4-star album. Maybe it's more like a 3-star album. But if you want the rap mixed with the metal from the early 90s, I'd rather hear this than like 311 or something like that, where the guy's on there like, yeah, we be freaky and we want to stay. I think Nick Hexum, thankfully he was in that group, or otherwise I don't think anybody would have taken that rap guy in there seriously. But anyway, enough about 311. This is Biohazard. So yeah, tough New York attitude, rap and metal together. They did a pretty good job of it. So just like the 1991 series, I didn't want to delve too much into straight-ahead pop music because that's more of a singles thing. I did do a few pop albums last time, so I'm going to do a few this time, like this one, Shakespeare's Sister. The album is called Hormonally Yours. This features Shaban Fahey from Bananarama, also features Marcella Detroit. Now, she was in the music industry doing some things for a little while, but way back into the 70s, actually, she co-wrote Lay Down Sally, the Eric Clapton song, so that was her claim to fame for a while before she teamed up with Shaban and formed Shakespeare's Sister. This is one of those groups that in the UK, which is where they're from, this would be straight ahead pop music. But here in the US, anything like that starts off in the UK usually ends up on the modern rock radio station. So that's where this was. It's modern rock here, but it's pop music in the UK. So yeah, it features just some basic, pop stuff on here. There's a few things on here a little more interesting than others. The song I Don't Care sounds a little bit like the Pretenders, Don't Get Me Wrong, at least in the beginning. You got Goodbye Cruel World starting the whole thing off. Nice pop tune there. I think that, and Let Me Entertain You, as well as as that song too, towards the end of the album, has kind of an exotic feel to it. It really changes things up a little bit, makes everything a little more interesting right before the CD ends. But I think where they really shine, oddly enough for my taste, is the ballads. I think their ballads are their strong point. They had a hit, you know, kind of in the US, a big hit in the UK with a song called Stay. That's really kind of beautiful. And they also have one called Hello, Turn the Radio On. That's a pretty ballad too. So I think they really shine in the ballads, but they got their little boppy kind of pop stuff going on as well. So not too bad of a stuff, but like I said, pop in the UK, here in the US, it is modern rock, produced, a lot of it produced by Alan Moulder. I think Chris Thomas, who, you know, big producer with the Pretenders and the Sex Pistols and all that, got involved to remix some of these. And Dave Stewart, I think that was Siobhan Faye's future husband, if I'm not mistaken, from Eurythmics. He shows up as a songwriter on a couple of the tracks as well. So Shakespeare's Sister, pop with a little bit of an edge, tiny bit of an edge. It's similar to this. That's why I'm holding two CDs. It's similar to this one, Tasman Archer, and this is called Great Expectations. They even look similar. Look at those covers. UK pop, US modern rock. This one had the song Sleeping Satellite on it. I'm reviewing these together because I didn't want to go too much into this one, but it's pretty much the same sort of deal here. You know, this one's not as interesting as this one though, but I just thought that was kind of neat to show both of these because I listened to this one and wasn't even going to review it at all because it's just pretty much pop music. But yeah, since they look so much alike, and they both got similar histories and of course came out the same year, I thought I'd do that. So technically, I'm reviewing 216 albums from 1992. All right, so here I am back in room temperature to wrap up this video. We are in the 120s at this point, counting down or ranking the 215 albums from 1992. Not necessarily the best 215. I mean, maybe there's some hidden jewels out there that I have not discovered yet that won't be on the ranking. I mean, I tried to do a pretty well-rounded list as far as big albums, of course, leaving out things like certain genres, like you know, I've said before, no country, no hip-hop, no, and you know, kind of techno dance stuff. It's better on 12-inch singles, and of course, there's no live albums, there's no EPs, there's no compilations, no comedy albums, things like that. There's no classical. I could have done Glenn Danzig's Black Aria. I actually have that CD, but you know, no classical. And so, yeah, so I try to, you know, a really deep dive. Is your favorite still coming up? I certainly hope so. Let me know in the comments what you think about where I ranked these albums. And get ready for the next video, the next part, coming soon. Until then, thank you so much for watching. I'm Robert Fitton, and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.